Welcome, welcome. We are live. Wait, is it? Yeah, we're live. Welcome, welcome. I am Almedia Exum, and this is the Anarkist. We are here reviewing episode 4 of Lovecraft Country, the history of violence. Want to say anything, the Anarchist?
Peace, what up? That's it.
All right, let's get into it. We are so happy to be with you all today and to be breaking down episode 4 of Lovecraft Country, called The History of Violence. So, this was an interesting episode, The Anarchist. Would you agree?
I would agree, very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So the history of violence starts off with a scene from Montrose, Atticus's father. He's drinking in his apartment, and we see Atticus. He has a, I mean, not Atticus. We see Montrose. He has a book in his hand, and we hear this audio talking about the Soviet Union and the nuclear age, and that this is the new age. And we hear him like just taking the sauce. We see Montrose just taking the sauce back, drinking all this alcohol while listening to this audio. It sounds like the audio is somebody in America just basically I have to look up the audio, but it's talking about like what's going on in the country, and this is the new age. We have to do something about the Soviet Union, something, about this nuclear stuff going on. And I think it's interesting because Montrose says, he says, nothing is new about this. Whitey's keep choking up death, and he doesn't need them helping him raising his son. So basically, he's saying it's the same stuff, different day. Like they're making it seem like things are new, like the Soviets are taking over and the nuclear war. But he's like, as a black man and as a father, a black father, he doesn't need this country telling him how to raise his kids or how to raise his son or how to be, because really they've been doing the same stuff. It's just a cycle. Same stuff, different day. What did you think about that opening scene?
The opening scene I thought was interesting because yeah, I heard the stuff about about the Russians and the communists, which of course at that time was called the Red Scare, which was basically I think what he was trying to explain was what America tends to do is they will find this mythological enemy. Right now we're doing it actually with the Chinese. They find this mythological enemy that, to get the American people against, like, oh, we are fighting them. We're for freedom, they're for not freedom, and we're fighting them. So that's how you got the American people galvanized. Oh, we're against communists, we're against commies, which he explains later in that episode when he's talking to his son Atticus, or Atticus thinks is his dad, and he's talking to Leticia. He says, you hear them and see them getting revved up on this Red Scare stuff. That's us. So another little black conscious tidbit in there, just to let people know, like, hey, when the government says we have enemies and they give you this faraway enemy, really they talking about black people. They talking about whatever people they just hate and bang on. So that was interesting. But what I found was even more interesting about that scene, I don't know if you noticed, Almedia, but when he burned the book, when Montrose burned
Yes.
the book, he and remember the episode again is called History of Violence,
Mm-hmm.
which I looked up. That's actually, and I haven't seen this film, but that was a 2005 film called History
Oh,
of
really?
Violence. Yeah,
Really? Okay.
it was basically dealing with a man, different scenario, but kind of the same. It was dealing with a man who had this family, had this new life, and then somebody comes in and basically lets them know about his very violent past of him murdering people. So his family got to deal with that. So of course that's kind of like juxtaposed to what Montrose is going on. He's living his life now, and he has this violent past, this
Mm-hmm.
past of abuse and of course violence towards his own family and son. But the most interesting thing that I saw in the very first scene was as he burned the book in his trash basket.
And the book is The Order of the Ancient Dons. Order of Ancient Dons.
Right, Order of Ancient Dawn, and he's the very first words out of his mouth is smells like Tulsa.
I know. I made a note about that. I was like, dang,
hmm So of course
dang.
he's talking about Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was of course burned down by the American government. That was
Black Wall Street.
yeah, Black Wall Street is mostly a black community. Well, Tulsa was a black community, and you guys should look up the story of that. It's very well known, especially now. But yeah, so and then I want to say that it was alluded in the second episode that Montrose, Uncle George, and Montrose's wife escaped Tulsa. I think that was alluded to in the second episode.
Maybe. Why does that sound familiar? Like that might have been the case.
So yeah, so because I was thinking like, did he just bring that up randomly? Smells like Tulsa. I know Tulsa happened like in the early 1920s, and I
And this
think
is
this is
the
supposed to be
1950s that
right,
this show is taking place in. So
right. So I guess
I
for him would have been 30 years ago.
yeah, I noticed I noted that in my notes for this week's episode. I was like, wow, because I know the average black person, and it should be really the average American, should know about Tulsa, Oklahoma and stuff. And so I was like, wow, it smells like Tulsa. We know that that was burned down. I wonder what the writer's intention was for that, and what Montrose, why he decided to say that. Is it because he's burning down knowledge? Like, why did he say that this book smelled like Tulsa? Like, because
Well,
it was a wealth of knowledge in it, like as it
if you
was in Tulsa, it was a wealth of knowledge and innovation within that community. Like, what made that book smell like Tulsa? Or maybe it was like, hey, I'm slighting them because they slighted us, or it's revenge. Like, this is exactly what Tulsa smelled like. I'm burning you all down, and I'm burning down your legacy and what you want as you burn down our future. I don't know. What do you think they meant by that?
I mean, you could. I think you can get a lot of interpretations. I think that's kind of was the point, especially being a filmmaker. You understand. Sometimes you write things and you try to make it multi-layered. So
Mm-hmm.
that could very well be true. What I got from it was clearly in that scene, yeah, like you said, he was drinking, he was tormented, he's looking at old photos, old pictures of his family and things like that, and thinking about reminiscing what was going on. You could hear a lot of violent stuff. Like the show's called History of Violence, the episode. But what I thought that was about him referencing Tulsa was, if you just looked at the way he did it, it was more so, he was standing up, breathing from all this crying and stuff. So he's like, and then he kind of just stands in a daze, like, huh, smell like Tulsa. Now that whole scene to me was supposed to be indicative of him actually having some form of PTSD, a post-traumatic stress disorder, based on the trauma that he's been through, based on the trauma that he's put his family through. So he's going through it based on his memories. You can tell, it's tormenting him. So that's literally textbook PTSD. And I feel like that scene, if I was the writer, what I would be saying is, all of that trauma brings back just that memory of trauma. Like, his last true, real, sustained memory of burning and fire, of smelling fire, was, I guess, his escape from Tulsa. So it's just like, it was almost like he said, like he wanted to laugh, but it was very traumatic. Like, smells like Tulsa. Like, so that was maybe his, how we associate things. So when you just smell burning, a lot of fire, then the last thing is like, well, what was the last thing I remember? In Tulsa, Oklahoma, literally the entire city burned to the ground. So that's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I thought that was a powerful line, and I thought that was bringing more awareness to Tulsa. If anybody didn't know what Tulsa was about, people watching the show was like, "What do you mean smell like Tulsa? Let me Google it." So I think it educated people, just by putting that line in, because people are going to go look up Tulsa even if they didn't know about it before, and I'm glad that me and you it didn't pass us by. Like, it's a lot of little nuggets going on in this show, a lot of little things, and it's like, okay, hopefully this all adds up. But I noticed that, so I'm glad you did too. So from there's an opening scene, and we see Christina driving in a car, and I just want to talk about the music that's being played here. It just really stood out to me that I think it was a Rihanna song, "Be Better Have My Money" playing.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about that? Like, I know they're trying to make it seem like she's bad, like she's a bad girl, like she's like, this boss. But I'm like, this is supposed to be the 1950s, and why is Rihanna playing over this girl driving in her car? Like, I don't know. Like, what did you feel about that? And then also, I believe there's a song later played by Young M.A. or something, and I'm just noticing. I think it was Young M.A. Noticing like more like modern songs played, and it's just kind of like taking me out of the experience. I mean, I understand the element of trying to make her seem like she's a bad girl, but I'm just like, I don't think that's the vibe Rihanna was giving. Like, Rihanna can sing that song, and I don't know, like, is it just weird? I just feel like, what did you feel about that? Maybe I'm just overthinking. I just thinking like, what? What were you thinking?
What's interesting is, isn't the first time that she's put, or that the directors and the writer Misha Green has put modern music in episodes. It
Yeah.
was modern music in the first few, actually
Mm-hmm.
in all the episodes so far. But I do understand where you're coming from with as far as like her choice of music, because I'm gonna be honest, that's especially for this episode and the next a little bit, that was a knock for me. That was a knock for me. Some of the modern use of music. Not that I don't like it. I mean, I understand that's basically what Jordan Peele was doing in his movies. He actually he promoted both of his first horror films with modern music. Remember the I Got Five on It, and I can't remember what the Get Out one was. But you know, he does that. He used, but then again, those are in time. But I don't have a problem necessarily with going back and using modern music, because you do that when you want it to appeal to people of that age group. So I can understand that. But the choices, there's a choice that she actually made in episode 5, which we'll talk about in another video, that I didn't like. But for this video, um, yeah, that the Rihanna song written by BB Borelli, the bitch better have my money. My thing is, my critique of it is, to me, it's not that good of a musical choice. To me, it just shows who you are writing it, which maybe that's what you want to do. I can just, without knowing who wrote this, I can watch some of these episodes telling that a black woman wrote it. This is like her playlist of music that she likes. There's Cardi B in the next episode, which I don't
We'll
mind,
talk
but
about that in the next episode.
we'll talk about that in the next episode. But I'm only bringing it up just because it's just like, when I think of some of the scenes that she put together with the music, I'm just like, it's a roll eyes kind of moment, because I'm just like, all right, you're a black woman, I get it. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Yeah.
it's no diss to Misha Green. It's no diss to her. I'm just saying in this particular scene, because it could be, even if she wasn't a black woman, other, and who knows if she made that choice versus someone else making that choice. So I
She
think,
did.
but we see our music played in a lot of shows that aren't like black at all, like, because it's supposed to be about the message in the song. So I don't think it's not, what I'm trying to say is that I just felt like, whether she, it's not about her, it's about like the whole team deciding like, okay, this is the appropriate song right now. Like, maybe if it was a song from back then that had the same intent, but maybe that was their way. And this is just another perspective, like maybe that's just their way of trying to bring in that younger audience and stuff. But I just kind of felt like, I also haven't been convinced that Christina is that BA,
I mean, I guess with the context of the song, it makes sense. She's a boss. She just pops up with a real estate business. You really see over the course of this series that she kind of moving the needle, or moving the pieces around,
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but I just, like I said, I feel like the filmmaker just likes that song, and just was, I can tell when a person's just like, ooh, I like this song. I want this in a scene of one of my movies or one of my TV shows. I can tell that, because you just listen to it over and over and over and over. Like, that's what I said. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but Misha Green puts a lot of music in her own playlist in these movies, which I don't have a problem with. But I just feel like, as a filmmaker, and she, all right, we talked about this earlier, but Lovecraft Country also has a podcast. So they have a podcast of writers talking about the show and whatnot. I bring up to say, because I think I seen this in a Misha Green interview, but she was saying that the budget in this TV series is huge, huge,
You
which
can
is actually,
tell.
yeah, which is one of the things that's disappointing me, because I'm just like, you have this big old budget, but the story is starting to kind of disintegrate, in my opinion. You have all this money to do all this cool stuff and to lease all of these very expensive songs, but it's just like, are you really incorporating them artistically? Are you doing what you're doing are you doing the best that you can for the story? So I'm just like, in my opinion, she's not in some of the scenes. Not to say that it's bad, it's getting bad, but I don't think, yeah.
I want to definitely add to that real quick. I want to say shout out to My Personal Detail. They just gave us a high five. If you want your car detailed and you're located in the Chicago area, shout out to one of our sponsors, My Personal Detail. They detail cars in Chicago. If you need a full detail or standard wash inside and out, that company provides that, as well as shampoos of your carpet, headlight restorations, ceramic coatings, sanitations of the vehicle. Visit My Personal Detail at mpdetail.com. Again, that's mpdetail.com. If you want your car detailed, they'll make sure they take care of your car and make it look like new again. They'll restore your car and bring it back to life. We also have Yaset giving a thumbs up here. And so, yeah, thanks, Yaset, for watching the video and supporting our channels. Alrighty, so in regards to the music. I just want to I agree with you, and I also just want to say I like I said, I feel like I get it if they're trying to make Christina look like a bad A, like a bad girl. But I'm not convinced that she is yet. I'm not convinced that she's that bad of a girl. And I just kind of felt like, I like the song, I like the song, but I just kind of, it took me out. Like, why put this in front of her? It's just kind of it's kind of like they're trying to convince us without her acting and the storyline being there that she's a bad girl. When I say bad, I don't want to like use actual words, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I just I feel like it was just kind of like doing too much for her character and it just kind of distracted me. But I like the song. I was just like, I was like, like going along with it, but I'm like, no, not with her. Um, just let her acting and the storyline convince us as the audience that she really is truly this hardcore character. And again, this is no true diss to the writers or anyone in the production team. We're happy to, watch this show. This is just our perspective and our review. And we're just excited to go along this journey as we figure out what's going to happen in this story. Conscious Preacher says, I noticed the music too. Yeah, the music really was kind of just like what? Like, this is a different era. Like, let's stay in that era, so thank you for that. All right. So what happens with Christina is after she's driving in the car, she drives up to Letty's house. She drives up to Letty's house. Did you notice the black sign? She kind of like looked at it and then walked up to the door. The black like writing in chalk. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. Like, is she identifying as black now? What is she gonna, but okay, like, and maybe that has, huh?
Well, I think what I got from it was she was pulling up to her neighborhood, right? Which, as we remember, Leticia moved into an all-white North Side Chicago neighborhood. And so what it looked like was black kids wrote blacks and pointed to her house.
Oh,
so when she got out the house, when she got out the
sense. Okay.
Yeah, she got out the left-handed what was that? Whatever
Is that a
expensive
British
car,
like
luxury car.
a UK car?
That's either got to be one of those British cars or just a a left-hand car. I don't know what that's supposed to say. We got cars for lefties, but
but they don't. Okay,
you don't see them that much on the road like that. Yeah, you left hands usually just try to drive right-handed cars here, but I don't know.
You can drive left-handed cars in America. I didn't think you could drive. Yeah, so I didn't even notice that. But yeah, so I didn't think that someone actually, that makes sense that the neighbors probably wrote blacks on there because she just looked at it and was like, and walked. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, you don't care about this sign, this letting you know that it's blacks here. But if it was meant as an insult, it makes sense because it's like, oh, well, that doesn't bother her or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, okay. So that happens. She walks up to the door and remember last episode, I was confusing this scene. I thought this happened in last week's episode. It happened in this episode. So she walks up to the door. Letty, I guess, I don't know, knew she was coming or something. Maybe she heard her drive up. And she was like, what are you doing here? And she realizes that there's a hedge of protection on the door because Christina tries to come in and she's blocked. There's a protection spell that Letty didn't even know about. And, Christina reveals to her that she asked her to find Hiram's orrery in the house or something like that. And Letty says kick rocks. Letty finds out that Christina is the one that gave her the money for the house. And she's like, look, your house, this house may have you may have given me the money, but my name is on the deed. So get out my house. And she's like, well, call me if you find Hiram's orrery. And I'm like, girl, like, no one wants to help you find anything, But I thought that was clever because neither one of them knew that Atticus put that hedge of protection up around the house.
Atticus didn't do that. That was
who did? Oh, the witch. The witch did it, right? Or the voodoo queen.
Yeah, the voodoo priestess when they were doing the last episode when they were exercising the house, trying to get rid of the different ghosts of the black people who were being tortured there, and also the torturer who was a person who was a member of the Sons of Adam Lodge, a guy named Hiram Epstein. Which you break those two names down, at least for me, Hiram, I explained in the last review and decoding. Hiram is the name of the fictional character that's in the Freemasonic lodge. So when you are in most of these Freemasonic lodges, which is obviously mostly white, they teach you the story about Hiram Habib. Hiram Habib is not a real person. Hiram Habib is supposed to be a symbol for who you are, because in the beginning of the story, they talk about Hiram Habib getting knocked on his head by the three initiates, which represents third dimension. So you get knocked on your head. You don't know who you truly are, your spirit. These are all just occult spiritual concepts that they teach in those Freemasonic lodges. So the man who previously owned the house that Leticia is in, his name is Hiram Epstein, and we don't need to break down Epstein. So she from the last episode, the Voodoo Priestess did make a little protection symbol, so unwanted people couldn't get in the house, which Christina could not. But as she said, she was looking for, I guess, what she called an orrery, which
orrery.
What she explained was some sort of model of a universe, which is interesting. Is getting to the astrological phase, because right after that, then we go into Uncle George's bookstore, which we see Hippolyta manning now, and also doing her job, which is her profession, as a astronomer.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And then you see Hippolyta. She has found a solar system model, and it's a guy in Uncle George's bookstore, one of her friends or whoever, he's in the bookstore, and she's like, I can't unlock it. You have to I guess figure out a way to unlock it so that it can start rotating the planets. And he was like, all I know is everything that's locked has a key, or everything that's locked can be unlocked, or something like that, he says. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's true. And so she's trying to figure out how to open this. And we get a feeling that this solar system model has something to do with what Christina is looking for, maybe. At least that's what I thought. What did you think about the solar system model?
Yeah, I would agree. I think, maybe it's something that Uncle George left behind, and just like the knowledge and information that he knows, so it may come back around. I'm not sure, but yeah, I felt like that was something about this episode was talking about, they wanted to center around planets and solar systems, obviously. So Christina talking about a solar system, and it's interesting. I was listening to what Hippolyta was saying. She was talking about two sons, which I don't know how much. She was like, yeah, she was talking to her father, which honestly sounded like it was not an old man, but a young man trying to act like an old voice, which I didn't really catch.
Something was different, and honestly,
is that my granddaughter? Like, I know exactly what a very older black man sounds like, and I know what it sounds like when you're trying to sound like an older man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's what that did. If you weren't looking for it, maybe you wouldn't know. But she was talking to apparently who was supposed to be her father, and he was saying something about a solar system with two suns. Now, the only thing I know about that is I listened to a metaphysician named Bobby Hemmett. He talks about the Sirius solar system. But have you had Sirius A and Sirius B, two suns, and those are those he explains are the suns behind our sun in our solar system. They give our sun a light which pushes us. So that's all spiritual, metaphysical
that's
stuff.
That's heavy. I don't know anything about this. I know about the great Bobby Hemmett, and you all should check out his channel for more metaphysics stuff. But I didn't know anything about any others. I know that there's other suns and other galaxies and stuff and other solar systems, but I didn't know it was any that are behind our solar system that's helping push light to our solar system. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I want to say this real quick. I don't want to nerd out on this because I can make this an hour. But
nerd out, no,
nerd out. Nerd. Take off my shirt, get nerd. But anyway, nerd power. But anyway, this is
oh my goodness, that should be like a T-shirt or something. I bet maybe it is a T-shirt. That should be like a thing. Nerd out hour, nerd out. Okay.
But yeah, so basically, if you study history, back in I want to say the early 1900s, like 1920s, 30s or whatever, some scientists, or I guess you call anthropologists, went over to Mali, West Africa, and they encountered the Dogon tribe, which Bobby Hemmett talks about. The Dogon tribe had mythologies talking about, we have actually mapped the stars. Now, this is the early 1900s where we really didn't have the technology to see what was going out in the stars in the universe. So they pretty much had to take their word for it. So they would tell them things in their mythology, like, oh, okay, there's these astrology, there's Orion's belt, there's this solar system. And they talked about Sirius. They talked about a solar system with two suns, Sirius A, Sirius B. What's the name of the book? I can't think. I think it's Signs and some book. I'll probably link it below in both of our videos. But those people wrote a book about all the symbols that the Dogon talked about. And they also talked about how NASA used every last one of those symbols that the Dogon, once NASA was able to use telescopes to see what was going on out there, they did see exactly every single thing the Dogon said. This small tribe in West Africa, because they said they were descendants of like the ancient of people of ancient Kemet and ancient Egypt and all that stuff. So, you know, they basically named all the stuff that, you know, they name in NASA, and it's basically the exact same names that the Dogon give these astrological structures. So I think that's maybe what they were touching on in the movie, because I do study a lot of that stuff. That's what I was going towards, but they didn't really break it down like that. They just talked about a solar system with two suns, which is, like I said, one of my gripes for this thing, because it's just like, if you really know, say more. Like, you know, it was a pretty long scene, or relatively, so it's just like, I want you to kind of include more about that, because if you don't know what I know, it's not like you're gonna really look that up. So, but yeah, so nerd moment over. Yeah, check out the Dogon of Mali, the Dogon of Mali, West Africa, and there's a book talking about it too.
Okay, yeah, just and if you could just include it in the link, you know, that'll be great. And this is what this is about. The Anarchists and I were reviewing and giving our reactions, but also decoding some of the things we noticed in this season. So in this episode 4, the history of violence, we're just decoding things and breaking down things so that you all can catch some of the nuggets that we saw. Kudos to the writers, to the whole team, to all of the actors who are part of this great production. We're just giving our review, and it's fun. It's fun to just give our review and perspective on this TV show. We're excited to break down Lovecraft Country. The Anarchists read the Lovecraft books, you know, and we both are, you know, just interested in narrative. So we're excited to continue to review these episodes as they come out, and we're just having fun decoding and talking about them and having a conversation. So, we talked about how Hippolyta found the form of the solar system, and it may have something to do with this Hiram's orrery. Let's see here. Oh, then next we realized that I kind of want to jump and talk about how Letty realizes that Montrose is holding back information from his son. Information that he knows may be information to help them find Titus's vault. Remember, they were talking about finding Titus's vault, and so Letty realizes that Montrose may know some information, you know, that he may, you know some stuff, and, you know, he's kind of answering.
If you remember, okay, so I want to say some of the next scenes were after Christina went to what's the name's house, and, you know, we get the little scene at the thing. Then we see Leticia barging into a library, which I don't want to overlook, because right in this episode, she's barging into a library. Atticus is studying. She knew Atticus was going to be there. It's the library. So Atticus is studying. She's really loud, and peep this out, because this is something that happens in these episodes. When she's being loud, how come you didn't tell me about this, that, and the other? How come you didn't tell me you tried to kill Christina, right? The little boy sitting there like, shh.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. I love that. I love that. I loved all of that. I was like, this little boy trying to read. Y'all interrupting his piece right now. You know, and I loved it. I thought that was so funny. And then for this little boy to be saying this to grown people, because little kids, you know, I just thought that was so great. He's like, y'all in the library.
You in the library.
Yeah, no talking in the library. So I thought that was so great.
Especially they probably followed the rules more back then, and now this is the library. Like what? But anyway,
I wanted to read. You know,
I wanted to ask you, what was that little boy reading? What book did he have in his hand?
Dr. Seuss, right? Was it Dr. Seuss? I thought it was Dr. Seuss. I just saw Dr. Seuss in my mind. But like, what was he reading? Was it a nugget?
Yeah,
was it a hint? Was he reading Lovecraft?
No.
Oh, you tell me, because I just keep guessing and I'll be wrong.
Okay. He was reading a book called The Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Oh, that's, you know what? You know what's so funny? That's when I made a note about the journey of the center of the earth, because I feel like this episode gives us those vibes. So I thought that was so awesome. I didn't know that, but that is a nugget, because it's planted in our subconscious what to expect for the rest of this episode. I didn't see. That's why we're doing this. Your eyes are seeing different things than my eyes are seeing. Okay, wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so yeah, okay. which we understand. Like I said, I be looking for these things. I'm like, that you have to understand, if you are into film, if you're a filmmaker or somebody who's trying to make movies, Every single thing in the scene has to say something. That's my gripe with Tyler Perry, because the only things in the scene is stuff that you can tell he don't take care of, like somebody drinking a cup with no water in the background. You supposed to.
Okay,
That's
I have no comments about Tyler Perry. He's a great
Shout out to Tyler
filmmaker,
Perry. He's
and
not a great filmmaker. He makes movies, okay, but he's a great businessman. I'll give him his credit. Look, I'm the anarchist. I'm gonna keep it real, y'all. I don't have to make relationships with these people. I'm not about to be in no Tyler Perry movie. You feel what I'm saying? Unless they start getting good. But I'm gonna keep it real. This movie, what this series did better than most black films. I'll be honest, because I don't know. Maybe black people, we just don't have that type of seasoned mentality of a filmmaker. But you look at real films, everything on the film, everything, every color, everywhere, everything's placed has to say something about this film. So they were doing that. So I had to look closely. What was the little boy reading? He was reading The Journey to the Center of the Earth, which of course is a very old book. I can't remember the author, but it wasn't Lovecraft. It might have been.
I can look it up real quick. Let me look it up while you're talking.
Okay, I think
because this
episode, the author might be Julius Verne.
Of the book, right?
Yeah, Julius Verne. I didn't read the book.
It is Jules Verne.
Yeah,
like
Verne.
Jules, but I think it is spelled Jules.
Yeah, Julius Jules. But I didn't read that original book. That's one of those, like I said, most people who are into science fiction might have realized that, like, oh, that was the book, The Journey to the Center of. I remember the 2005 movie with Brendan Fraser, so that's kind of how I remember.
Oh yeah, that's how. Yeah, I used to be a big fan of Brandon and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So knowing that, then you kind of realize that everything that happens afterwards is basically a nod to that story, to Journey to the Center of the Earth. So just wanted to put that in there because it was a little tidbit, but please continue.
No, I'm glad they were breaking this down. And I can't believe I didn't notice that. I thought he was reading Dr. Seuss. I don't know why I saw Dr. Seuss in my head. And I was like, oh, he's reading Dr. Seuss. That's cool.
I think it was kind of the same colors a little bit, kind of the same color scheme. I think where you get it from.
Yeah. But I love just like paying attention to the little details and stuff. Like, I think that's so fun to like just break stuff down. But I do talk later in my notes about like this whole idea of the different themes. And actually it's coming up right now, actually. So 2 more notes, but that is one of the things. Journey of the Center of the Earth. I get that vibe from this TV show, from this episode. So yeah, before the Letty scene, Letty does come, before the scene with Letty and Montrose, Letty does come to the library, like you said, and she's acting all like angry with him, and she confronts him about trying to kill Christina, but she's not really mad about him trying to kill Christina. She's kind of like, well, why didn't you do it? And that's when he finds out that she has a protection.
I wanna bring this up too, because I forgot to bring this up last time. Leaving episode 3. But I thought this is one thing that popped up in my mind when Atticus went to the real estate office with the gun and literally tried to shoot and kill Christina. And he couldn't do it because in the movie she had some sort of protection spell on her, so she was unable to.
Was that episode 3?
I believe it was either in the episode 2 where they talked about in episode 3, or one of the past episodes.
It was 3 then. It was 3.
Okay.
So I thought she confronted him about that. No, she confronted him about that another time. Okay, confusing these episodes.
Okay, but yeah, so I want to make a note or a point that when, like I said, you really have to look at things subconsciously and what they may be trying to say. Watching from the UK, hey Sandra Martin.
Hey Sandra, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, so I'll say this about that particular scene where you have Atticus pointing a gun at this white woman and couldn't squeeze the trigger, couldn't shoot her. Now we know in the TV show that's just based on the spell that she had to protect herself, but subconsciously all you see is that a black man cannot kill, even though he wants to, he can't kill a white woman. So you hear black people say now in the community, oh, we got all these gangsters in the community, but y'all ain't about to kill these racist police, y'all ain't about to kill somebody, y'all can't kill these white people. So that's the narrative that goes around in the black community, and I understand why, because there is some sort of programming that makes black males especially just real susceptible to kill one of their own, and they don't take that energy to another community. Not that I'm not promoting violence to anybody at all, but I'm just saying that is sort of a thing, and a lot of people think that's programming. Now, the reason I bring it up is because if you go back to the movie Demolition Man with Wesley Snipes, that same narrative shows up in that movie. Because if you remember Wesley Snipes, and I don't want to give too much of Demolition Man, even though it's an old movie, so y'all should just go watch it. A lot of metaphysics, but he's he's in the future, but he was someone who was actually frozen from the past. When they unfroze him, they programmed his mind, and so he was just a criminal. Wesley Snipes was just a dumb criminal in the movie, just killing, doing all dumb stuff. So he wanted to kill the dude who actually brought him back from the dead, or brought him, unfroze him to make him do all this chaos. He was just about to kill him real easy, like, well, you dead, and couldn't do it. He like, couldn't kill this white man, couldn't do it. And the white man told him, well, because you programmed not to kill me. I programmed you perfectly.
I forgot about that. Wow.
In your program, you can't do it. So I know that for a fact is, trying to say something, but I think this is kind of saying that too.
A message. Yeah. Thank you for that, the Anarkist. Yeah. That was very interesting. And so also we realized that all the books that Atticus is reading and researching to try to figure out where Titus's vault is, his father's name. I used to love that. Do they do that anymore in the library? Like, he had just already checked. He checked out he had already checked out all those books, so he had already read those books. His father is ahead of him with all of this knowledge. So then we see that Letty and his father are at the bar, that Sammy's bar, I think, right? And that's when she realizes that Montrose is holding back information from his son. And she says, you're really going to let him go out and do all this when you know you can help him? And he's just kind of quiet, like, I guess he's trying to protect them or whatever. And so from that point, after that point, you see that Christina meets with Sheriff Lancaster, right? After that scene where Letty confronts Montrose, the next scene is like Christina meeting with Lancaster, Sheriff Lancaster, who's the sheriff of the department, or the Chief Lancaster, who is a part of the order. Remember, he's a part of the order of Son of Adams. He's one of the sons of Adams. She says that that finding Hiram's Ori, I'm saying that wrong. Hiram's Ori. She says that finding Hiram's Ori is the key to unlocking a time machine. So we have time machines now, right? I guess, like, she's saying it's a time machine. So now they're letting us know that somewhere along the way, there may be possibly a time machine in this TV show. That's very interesting. That's interesting. And so she's confronting him because he's saying, like, hey, you're in my town. This is my town, and get away. And he's clearly not going to help her. He wants to be the one to find it or whatever. And so after they have that scene where it's revealed to us that basically she doesn't just want Hiram's Ori. She wants it because she wants a time machine. Why does she want this time machine? Does she want to go back and change something from the past, and is she ever going to find it? So that's just what I want to know. Do you have any comments about that before I move on to the next point?
Just one. Yeah, I felt like the whole concept of the time machine maybe is dealing with her father, and maybe her trying to bring him back. So, which is why she wants it so bad right now. So,
And we don't have any mention of her mother, and so who knows, but also she seems to be so put off by the fact that she's a woman that she doesn't have control. So maybe she wants to use it to gain some type of control. Or it could be a lot of things that we have no idea about, if it truly is a time machine, so we go on from there and they begin this journey to the museum. So it's Atticus, Montrose, and Letty. They begin to go on the journey to the museum, but they're intersected by Hippolyta and Diana. Hippolyta is like, look, I want to go too. No, I feel like y'all keeping something from me. I want to go too. I'm going too. So they all pack up to go. And they go to this museum in Boston to find Hiram's Ori, right? And Titus's lost pages, which are supposed to be inside of a vault that's in the museum, in Boston. And so the whole thing is that only, I guess, the Atticus is going is because, Atticus can access the vault because he has like this secret bloodline or something. So that's why he's going. He's trying to go or whatever. And like I said, Hippolyta and Diana join them. They don't really want them to join them because they don't want to put Diana and Hippolyta in any more trouble after the death of their father. Sandra says, I I have recorded it, but not seen it yet. Oh, she has recorded it, but she hasn't seen it yet. Well, spoiler alerts, Sandra. I would just say watch it and then come back and watch our live, or we'll be on by then probably, but like rewatch our live afterwards if you don't want any spoilers. If you're okay with spoilers, then just continue watching us, Sandra. And it's good to watch it anyway, you know, because we're talking about things, but there may be things when you go and watch it that you'll see that maybe we don't mention. So, but definitely watch it. It's a very interesting TV show, and we're here for the ride, for the journey. So they don't want to take Hippolytus and Diana, the anarchists, because they already feel like they killed they're the reason why they're responsible for George's death. So they don't want to cause any harm to Hippolyta and Diana. But they go anyway because Hippolyta wants answers and she wants to know what's going on. So Hippolytus, we find out in the episode really quickly that once they get to the museum, the anarchists, I just feel like I said, there's very much Journey to the Center of the Earth vibes. But in the beginning, I'm getting like the Zookeeper movie vibe. I'm getting like I said, Journey to the Center of the Earth. And later on, I'm getting like, once they get to the cave, I'm getting like Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets vibes. Like, you know, so a lot of movies vibes to where that draws really in a lot of artists. And I mean, not a lot of artists, a lot of people, a lot of different audiences and stuff, because you're relating to a lot of these worlds that I guess they're experiencing. Jose M. Berg says, "Hi guys, I'm from Brazil." Hi, Jose. Thanks for tuning in. We're here for this journey of Lovecraft, and we're just breaking down and reviewing and decoding episode 4 of Lovecraft Country, the history of violence. And thanks for tuning in. And
I don't know if that's say Jose or Hosenberg, but shout out to Hosenberg.
Hosenberg. All right.
Shout out to Brazil, man. Brazil, y'all got it popping down there, straight up, and beautiful ladies too.
Yeah. Shout out to Brazil and the UK and everyone else who's watching. Thank you for tuning in and join us with this journey of breaking down and decoding Lovecraft Country. So like I said, I'm getting all these different vibes, and it's bringing in a lot of different audiences and stuff, I feel like, because a lot of people can relate to like this episode, because it's like a adventure type of episode, I feel like. So we see a clip or a short scene with Hippolyta talking to Diana, and I love it. I love Hippolyta. I'm like so inspired by her character. We know that she's an astronomer, and we find out that she named, I don't think she discovered, but she named a famous comet called Hera Chariot. And I thought this line she said was so nice when so we find out that she named this comet, right? But they didn't want a black girl to be the name. They didn't want people to know that a black girl named this comet, so they gave it to like a white girl from somewhere. Where it was like a white girl who I guess her parents had power or something like that. Who did they have? Who did they switch the name? They gave it to a white girl from somewhere. Where was that girl from? Do you remember?
Was it Utah or something like that?
I don't know, somewhere.
I don't remember, but not like it's really important. But
yeah,
they gave it to a white person. They didn't want a black person associated with the naming of that star, so they gave it to a white woman.
Yeah, to that comet. Yeah, and so I like what Hippolyta says. She says, because her daughter says, "Well, Mom, why didn't you tell people?" She was like, "You know the truth. We know the truth. And that's all that matters." I thought that was so deep. What do you think about that line right there?
I guess it was deep.
Okay. What I pulled from it, and maybe I just be reaching. I'll be reaching. But I'm like, so often in history, a lot of our truths are hidden. We know the truth, our ancestors know the truth, but the public doesn't want to discuss it. Just like a lot of things that were happening during slavery and during a lot of different times in American history, a lot of things you only truly hear about if you're in conversations at people's dinner tables, but the history books don't talk about them. You know, like I know some of my mentors who grew up in the South. They were around during like not slavery, but like during the South, like Jim Crow,
like the sharecropping era,
yeah, Jim Crow and stuff. And they were part of the Great Migration up to the North. And several of them have talked to me about things, and I'm like, well, why are these things in the history book. They said, oh no, they don't want people to know about this, or they don't want people to know about that. But we know, but it's not something that the public talks about. And I'm like, wow. So when she said we know the truth and that's all that matters, I think that's basically Black America, like, and not just Black America. In a lot of cultures, like, it's things that like won't make it to like the history books and won't make it to the news, but the people know about it. The people of those civilizations and those communities know about it. And that's what I felt when she was saying that. I felt like she was saying like it was like a props or a nod to like Black society. Like, we know the truth, we know what's really going on, even if they don't want to acknowledge it in the media and stuff. So
Yeah, and Diana after that, you know, I not to belittle that scene because I like it. Diana after that was like, "Hey y'all, that star was named after my mama," and now we know and they know. So yeah, it was I thought it was a cute scene, you know. But my thing is maybe why I kind of just seem to downplay it is just like, okay, my thing is to me, what was really kind of not off-putting, but why I'm just not so into it like I was the first episode is because to me, on my level of Black consciousness and just consciousness of the stuff that I'm aware about that they talk about, this is like a diet woke level to me. Yeah, I mean, at this point, people don't know that it's Black inventions that Black people made or Black things that we've done that we don't get credit for. That's common. That's everybody knows that now. Even if you don't know what it is, you know that fact. Like Tariq Nasheed made 6 whole documentaries talking about all the things that Black people did and never got credit for. So it's just like maybe point one. I understand this is they just it's for a particular audience.
yeah, but you know what, the anarchists, we have to appreciate that because everyone isn't on our level of like intellect or knowledge. Like some people don't know. And I'm glad you brought up the inventions because that's another great example. Like, we know who invented the light bulb and who did this, who that. They're going to give the credit to these other people, but we know the truth. And I think I'm glad you brought up the inventions because that's a great example of how, people get credit for other people's inventions, but the community and the community knows the truth, and so I do agree with what you're saying. Like, it's some stuff that should be common knowledge, but like they say, common sense ain't that common, or common knowledge isn't that common, and it's good for them.
And
to
also
just
maybe
like,
I don't know if because remember they actually came out with a movie. I'm sorry to cut you off. I mean, I know I do that, but
it's fine.
just
I do it too.
just to get this thought out. Remember they came out with a movie called Hidden Figures, and I guess that was
Yeah.
supposed to be a true story about these women who were in NASA. So maybe that was a nod to that as well, because they didn't get a lot of credit until that movie. Most people didn't even know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they did, and thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that up because that's another case where like you had these brilliant Black women, brilliant, not getting any type of credit, and people don't even talk about them, but they existed, and we know, and so I'm glad they made that film about them. But that's another
Wh-
nod to them, these astronomers, these women who were at NASA putting in work for this country, didn't get the
One more
credit they
thing too.
deserved. Mm-hmm.
Because I'll bring this up because this is what I'm talking about. If you're really going to do that, do it like this. A lot of people don't know this, but some people do. But the woman Henrietta Lacks, she could have put that in there. Henrietta Lacks is a story about a Black woman, regular Black woman who went to the hospital, was sick, died, and they, without her knowing, without her family knowing, took her cells, took this Black woman's cells, and it's called the HeLa cells, HILA, HeLa cells. With that, they made a whole bunch of stuff. They made it vaccines, they made it medicines, they were able to space travel with this woman's cells. You think I'm making it up? Go look it up. So she could have put stuff like that instead of just, they don't really know about what we've done. Maybe talk about Henrietta Lacks. Maybe talk about, how they made all these spatial and medical advancements using one Black woman's DNA. So it's just like, okay, you want to just say, oh, they're not giving us credit. That's like surface level shit. That's like me telling somebody, that's like me trying to teach somebody how to drive, but not getting in the car, just going, do this. Okay, I can see that. Like, this is surface.
Yeah.
Not teaching you nothing. I'm just telling you what you could know. So that's my gripe. It's just like, go deep. You have this huge budget. Maybe pay your writers more so they can come up with, more creative stories. Because you basically these writers write like how Drake write raps. When I hear Drake's raps, all I do is hear all these lines, what old rappers said. You know what I'm saying? I'm just pulling out, okay, yeah, Eminem said that, Jay-Z said that, Lil Wayne said that in one song. So it's just like, I understand we all have influences, And I understand the style of this particular TV show. They're going to incorporate things and make shows about these older science fiction books, because that's basically, Lovecraft and all these other people. But it's just like, go deeper. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got this big budget and y'all not really doing nothing with it. That's my gripe. But let's move on. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. Take it there. Take it there. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and I would like to say that possibly, maybe, it's a lot of stuff that didn't make the final cuts that they wanted to, let me grab my notebook real quick, 1 second. Okay, I'm just gonna grab my notebook. So yeah, maybe it's a lot of things that didn't make the final cut. It was other things they were gonna put in, and it just, or didn't just make the, like, the editing team was like, yeah, we have time
stop
for this.
Caping. I know you caping for these people. You like, look, I might work with Misha Green. Shout out to Misha Green.
No.
I understand. So, and I'll give you that. Maybe it is that, because you're right. You
it's
are
not that,
absolutely
but just
right.
I just know that when it comes to filmmaking, and we hear about it all the time, and I've been a part of projects where you're fighting for things to make the final cut. And if it's a certain amount of time, things don't make the final cut that would have been great, and also who knows how much more they would have wanted to put in here if they could. And who knows, maybe more things will be in the future episodes. We have no idea. Yeah, I want you to talk about this bar scene that happens next, the Anarchist. Well, not bar scene. The guy from the bar, that tall guy who said he had made out with Letty or whatever. He was at the museum too, right? Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was at the museum.
Why
was he there? Oh, he needed a ride somewhere, right?
Right. He had, I guess Hippolyta knew she was going, and then, it's kind of, that scene did show like how the black community operated, especially in Chicago, especially in these black cities, where he was on his way to Boston and he had his bag. He was willing to get hit, like, hold on, nah, what the hell? And the Atticus get out, what the hell you doing? And then, because he was just mad already, and he was like, well, I heard y'all had his briefcase. Heard y'all was going to Boston. I figured I could hitch a ride and save some money. So, and then, Hippolyta said, Uncle, George said that Woody could, carry all the south side Chicago to places. So just showing you how it was back then, where it's just like, hey, you got this black person going to Boston from Chicago. You guys are going to Chicago. Can I hitch a ride with y'all? I can save money. We all black. So yeah, that's how he got there. And then in the scene you're talking about, they're in a museum, just kind of just scoping the place out. And that character, the guy, I don't remember his name, but he's talking, clearly he's just an antagonizing person and character, but obviously he talks to Leticia first, like trying to tell her, making this old school joke about he got 3 legs and trying to, make sexual innuendo. And she's like, well, shouldn't I already know? Shouldn't I already know all the lies you've been telling? He's like, oh, dang, I have been lying and capping. But so then after that,
I want to talk about what he said about Sammy and Montrose. He says, he says, like, oh, they've been getting really close. Are you concerned about that? And he's trying to like imply, because remember, Sammy is the guy who was getting oral sex from that, it looks like a young man, in I think it was like the second scene. I mean, the first episode, right? The first episode. Yep. Mm-hmm. So he's saying that they've gotten close, and I'm like, aren't they getting a little close? Are you concerned about that? And he kind of like, you can see that Atticus is kind of like, what are you trying to say? Like, whatever. And so what do you think about that? Like, why would he, like, is he just trying to get under everybody's skin? Because he did lie about, Letty. So maybe he's just trying to like get under everybody's skin. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's an aspect. Like I said, he's definitely an antagonizing character. I think he just represents the, as the red pill being the person, the conscious black man, talks about knuckle draggers. There are people who are conscious, and there are people who are knuckle draggers, which is just his way of saying everyday human beings who don't really care about knowledge. That's what this guy gives me the vibe of. So he's worried about all these other things. We have Atticus, Leticia, and everybody else worried about books and all this other magical stuff and all that. He's just worried about, oh, I had sex with her, or I'm lying, or, oh, I think, because obviously him being at the bar, knowing that, I think if you're there long enough, you probably understood that the bartender was a gay man. And, he's just trying to like, just be a little chatty patty with the son. Like, oh, because he brings up the fact that, oh, are you mad that I sent you out there when I knew what the bartender was doing? And Atticus is like, well,
Oh, is
shoot, that's
that
that
what he
man's business.
said? Is that
Yeah,
what
he
he
was like,
said?
he thinking the dude is he thinking Atticus was mad at him because of that. He was like, this show was off as hell. That's what Muck Muck said.
Hopefully, Muck Muck, is that what your name? Muck Muck the General. Hi, thank you so much for tuning in, Muck Muck. My hope for the show is that it as we continue to watch it, that it comes together, that it all makes sense and just kind of comes full circle. So we'll see. Right now things are kind of like everywhere, and it does seem like it's just like a roller coaster of like, or not even a roller coaster, like a puzzle. Like every puzzle piece is different, you know what I mean? And so hopefully the puzzle fits together and creates a bigger picture at the end. But thank you so much, Muck Muck, for tuning in. Muck Muck the General, and keep listening. And if you have any other comments as we break down this episode, just leave a comment below and let us know.
But yeah, off
So
as hell. I think I know what he's saying about off as hell too. Just to just that stuff, which we'll get into more in 5, because that stuff was off. I'm gonna go in about episode 5. But anyway, in this episode, obviously the guy was, he's just a lay person. He's just a regular simpleton, and he's like, yeah, I hope you're not mad at me sending you back there for seeing what you saw. And Atticus was like,
I didn't hear
that's
him say.
his.
I didn't know he said that. So he did that intentionally.
Yeah, so he was like, he was still kind of just being Atticus, like, I mean, that's his business. Unless you worried about it, is that your business? So he was like, kind of offending him a little bit, like, well, no, I
Cause
was just.
he knows he's an employee, right? For him, is he an employee or does he just
I'm
hang out
not
at
sure
the
if he
farm?
was an employee or yeah, he might have just been there. I don't think he was. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if he was
So he's
employed.
a chatty patty type of guy. Just,
Right.
Um,
So mhm.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, after that, and that's when he kind of alludes, like, yeah, I just know that your dad, I know Montro's been hanging around there a lot, so maybe that's something about he know. So of course, I'm thinking like, you about to punch him in the mouth. We
Yeah,
talking
I
about
thought
my
he was
daddy,
too. Like,
but
don't be
so
disrespecting my father, you
right.
know.
So, but no, I don't think that's not an Atticus's character to do that out in public. He's very reserved, but he's just like, at this point, a seed is planted in his mind. He's looking at his dad, and oddly enough, the dad is like talking to a security guard at that point, and he comes back like, yeah, he gonna let us come in. Atticus is like, well, how do you know this dude? How's he gonna let you do all this stuff? Like, why? Like, he's just like, well, I just know him from back in the day. So it's interesting.
Oh, I didn't even peep that. I thought maybe like they I don't know, because he hasn't been to jail. Montrose hasn't been to jail, I don't think, right? So I thought that was suspicious too. Like, how did he know him? Like, did they I kind of felt like, did they do something illegal or something like that? Or did they or did he help him get from like the south to the north? I don't know. I thought it was something like that. Like, that's what I was thinking.
We
Like,
don't really know what it was. All we know is that Montrose went over there talking to the security guard. We in our
and
minds.
he's smart. He's really smart. So maybe, he's connected with a lot of people, just like how Uncle George knew a lot of people because, he was doing the Negro travels, maps and stuff. So, but I don't know. We're just guessing right now. We'll see as we continue to watch these episodes. So the next scene is Ruby. She's singing her heart out in the bar, right?
Mhm.
And William, he comes there. He approaches her at the bar. Ruby seems to be really pushing him off and brushing him off and stuff, basically. Like, what do you want, white man? Like, what do you want? Let me enjoy my drink my sorrows away, yada, 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 right? But you can tell, like, she's very vulnerable and stuff. And so, uh, basically, he offers to, like, I guess, become a solution to her problems or something like that. And she's like, look, you ain't getting none, you ain't getting none. But then we see that by the end of the episode, like they have sex. She cuts her hand on something, and which I'm surprised that she had sex with this guy, but guess she was real vulnerable. And she cuts her hand, and he starts drinking her blood or something, right? What do you think about that? She cuts her hand, he starts tasting her blood. I thought that was very weird. It's very like vampire-ish, like, so what do you think about that?
What I got from that when I first seen that scene, it actually made me harken back to and in fact I didn't see this movie. It's a very old movie. I believe the movie is called High Yellow. I was looking for it because I've never seen it before. The only reason I know about this movie is I watched a movie called, or actually I watched a very interesting documentary. It's called How the Jews Built Hollywood. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun,
You can
dun,
see Jews on
dun.
YouTube. Yeah, but the fact is, a lot of that people of that religion wouldn't like for you to see this movie, even though it's based on a book who was written by a Jewish man, and I believe the movie was done by Jewish people as well. But it's just showing you that this Hollywood was from the very beginning made by Jewish people. That's their industry. That's their entire industry. So I don't know why they like to sit around and say, "Oh, Jews don't own Hollywood." It's a movie called How the Jews Built or Created Hollywood. So, and they still own it to this day. But anyway, in that documentary, it's still on YouTube. Um, they talked about a movie. I think it was this movie High Yellow, where in it there was this woman who was basically a mulatto black woman. She was like, I don't know if she was 25% black or half black, but she was basically black, but she looked white, so she was passing for white. So she just pretended like she was white. Went to a white community, a white town, and even got with a white man. I think it was one of her family members that came and kind of like blew up her spot. Was like, hey, she's black, and everybody found out she was black, and she was, sad about that. But her white husband, I guess, loved her enough to where I think she was getting ready to get arrested, or they were about to get arrested, because whatever city or town they were in, black and white relationships were outlawed. So the police was like, hey, you're a white man, she's a black woman, I have to arrest one of y'all because this is illegal. So back then, and even still to this day, there is a rule that says, I don't know if it was the white supremacists that made this rule, which I'm pretty sure, but it says, if you have one drop of black blood in you, one drop, you are a black person. So that means your great, 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 great grandfather could be a black man. And based on the rules of white supremacy, that means you are a black person. So, which is kind of stupid, because we know if that's that removed, then you're a lily white person straight up, because everybody got black in them. Everybody's from Africa. But the thing is, in that movie, it was the like climactic scene, the movie High Yellow. Basically, this white man cuts his or soon to be wife, fiance or wife, black wife's hand and start drinking the blood of her hand. And it's supposed to be this dramatic scene. One block, right? One drop of black blood. I have one drop of black blood in me. So it's supposed to be this scene. Oh, this white man loves his black fiance. He don't care that she black. So when I seen that, that's what I got it from. I don't know if Misha Green or the writers got it from that, but it was supposed to be a very popular movie from back in the day, and I think that's what that's from, because otherwise it's just weird.
Yeah, it's very weird, and it made me think, like, is he trying to validate himself and her blood? Like, oh, I love your blood, like your blood, and it's basically everything you're saying, the anarchist. It's like, because black blood, even though it's royal and it's great, it's supposed to be taboo for some people, not to us, but like to some people. So it's just like, I love you, I love your blood, everything. And I'm just like, who drinks blood? That's so disgusting. But symbolically, I thought it was on like what you were saying, like some of the things you were saying, like, I'm validating you, I love your blood, I love everything about you. And it made it seem like it was erotic, like as if this is a thing some people do, like they like to taste people's blood, other than like vampires.
Keep in mind too, if we're talking about, of course, William, the white man, is a part of the Sons of Adam. So that's the Masonic Lodge, and Masonic lodges, blood is a very big thing. Blood is a huge thing. Blood is, when it comes to these Freemasons and their rituals, blood is a necessity, especially the high up Catholic Church. A lot of people have problems with, but the popes and all them, when they do all this sinister stuff, which they do, I've had episodes breaking it all the way down. But they use blood, they sacrifice people and all types of stuff. So that's a big thing in these higher occult secret societies, is blood. That obviously everything is multi-layered, so it could be dealing with that too. But it's a huge thing. They drink blood, then the adrenochrome, all types of stuff. So they could be saying that too. But when I first seen it, I immediately thought back to that clip of that film, because at the time it was supposed to be like this. That's when Hollywood was trying to diversify a bit. You know what I'm saying? Even though I believe it was a straight white woman that played the role of a half black, half white woman. That's where they were trying to introduce more stories about black people. That wasn't just like cooning stories of just walking around as buffoons. But so moving on.
Okay. But it's great that we're decoding all of this and talking about it, because we're teaching people as we speak, you know what I mean? And just stirring up like conversations as we, break down and decode this episode. So after that happens, after they have sex and he drinks her blood, we see a scene with Atticus, Montrose, and Leticia still trying to find Titus's vault. They're in a cave. And this is when I start to get like different vibes of like Journey to the Center of the Earth and other things.
Which
Like
is
they're in this.
basically all the other movies that you talked about is basically copying that movie. That was the original sci-fi movie. When you look at movies like The Goonies and all
Yeah,
these movies where, that's traveling, and this is one thing I want to say too. I know I'm just nerding out with all this extra
it's
information.
okay. It's okay. Like
Yeah, but remember again, there are people who read science fiction, those old science fiction books, and were just like, I just love these stories. And then there are metaphysicians and occultists, like a lot of those Freemason occultists, who read those books either knowing or believing that this was reality that they were coding in fiction, which is done now to this day. Reality where they code in fiction. The whole vampire thing is a reality that codes in fiction. Not that there are people who are literal vampires, but it's basically talking about how people are in these Masonic lodges, how you drink the blood and all that stuff. So basically the whole notion about the journey to the center of the earth, that idea is off another metaphysical idea that there is an inner earth. Actually, Dr. Delbert Blair, rest in peace, he always used to talk about things like aliens, extraterrestrials. But one of his main key points was that there was this thing called the inner earth. And he would talk about how beings live down there. It was a beautiful, euphoric land, green, everything. Beings live in the center of the earth. Black people live in the center of the earth. Delbert Blair talks about all this. And if you look at some of these people like him, or who there were white people in the circles talking about the inner earth as well. So before flat earth became a thing,
and this was before we discovered that there was a core, right, in the center of the earth, or is this after?
That there was a core. Like I said, that whole there's a core in the center of the earth thing. I don't know. I'm not about to pretend to know these things. If you look at the regular scientific world, they'll tell you that there's some sort of core. There's like a
It's
heated
like a
core.
mini sun, kind of. It's like a sun
In the center of the earth.
heating it up and helping it, like,
Yeah, so like I said, I don't really know this. I just know what I learned. So if you just go to just regular mainstream science, and they'll tell you that the Earth has a heated core, and stuff like that, which could be true. But like I said, if you go into the more fringe metaphysical books and metaphysical people breaking this down, they'll tell you that there's just look up inner Earth, and so I'm not capping and lying. Look up inner Earth, you'll see a whole bunch of people that's just say crazy conspiracy theorists trying to tell you that there's inhabitable places inside the earth. There are people inside the earth. That's just information that you can find. So that whole story, Journey of the Earth, all those movies after that, Goonies, and just every movie where it's like a cave and people go into a cave and it's like this, euphoric land. That comes from Journey of the Earth, which comes from another metaphysical concept. So just throwing that in there. I know that was nerve second.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially, I didn't read the book, but I do remember the Journey of the Earth movie. So a lot of the stuff that happened in there was the same thing. It's just like, what's another one? Like you said, Indiana Jones, this whole stuff about going in caves and having to move different. Notice that all these movies too have these different artifacts. Blood is spiritual currency. Yep, Bahar. Exactly. It is spiritual currency. It helps you. To them, it helps rituals. It helps you do more powerful rituals, just like we seen in the other episode of Lovecraft Country where the Voodoo Priestess used the blood on the door. So it's just like that. If you study this stuff, that's what you'll understand. But anyway, all those movies like Indiana Jones, like the Goonies, where people are literally traveling inside of caves and stuff like that. That's basically a nod to the journey of the center of the earth, which is basically what people used to talk about inner earth. I don't know if I can't say it's a real thing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, go ahead. I just thought about something because Bahir Abdul said that it made me think of something. It made my wheels start spinning. I was like, if blood is a spiritual currency, so now they have currency in the spiritual realm, I guess. If that's true, then maybe William is going to use the spiritual currency on Ruby because now he has something over her. He has some coins from her. He has spiritual currency. So now he's going to use that because he's tied to her in a way by consuming her blood. I have no idea. I could be reaching, but I just thought about that.
I can see that.
Thank you, Bahir. This is why it's good to have these conversations come together as a community from everywhere around the world and just talk about this type of stuff, because then it makes my wheels start spinning and we all can have more ideas and start beginning to guess and wonder where this story, where this season is going to lead us. Continue, please, the anarchist.
Yeah, so that's basically I just wanted to hone in on that point. I can see if for those people who are not necessarily getting the metaphysical aspect of what's going on with Lovecraft, because that's something I study all the time. I study spirituality, I study metaphysics. So this stuff is kind of second nature to me. And if people want to look that up, then they can. So I do like that they do incorporate some of the black stuff. One of the next things I will say, I don't know if I'm going too much ahead, but when they do get into these caves after nighttime, they enter the museum. Montrose shows them, oh, there's a moon that shows them kind of how to get into this little space. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? So when they
Mm-hmm.
get there, they just traveling, just like how the journey of this to the center of Earth narratives are. When they get to the spot where they have to basically walk through this little plank, this little wooden thing.
Yes.
This is another moment where I just feel real conflicted because I'm just like, okay, I see this is a point where you're trying to add in the black conscious, black history stuff, but it's just done so
Why?
surface level
Why?
to me. Well, in
Because
that scene, okay, in that scene, basically they have a rope and they trying to get Letitia to be pretty much the first person to
oh,
walk across that
the
thing.
noose,
Not
the
the
noose
noose.
they
They
were
basically,
tying. Oh, okay.
I mean, it wasn't a noose. Is when they hang people
Oh,
by
never
things.
mind. Never mind.
That's
What is the?
when a rope is made into a noose. They were just tying. They were basically trying to tie a knot around her. And she was like, "If I fall, is that knot gonna hold me?" Like anybody would ask, "Is this motherfucker going?" Well, anyway, I'll ask. Now I ain't doing it first. Y'all go first, and I might think about it after y'all go. But anyway, she was like, "If I fall, is that not gonna hold me?" Montrose basically lies and said, "It back in the day when the freedmen's were slaves, the great 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 grandfather used to have to tie these knots around horses. So if he would have dropped those horses, then he would have got beaten. And our family probably wouldn't have been here. We probably got beat to death." So he was like, because trying to reassure her, like, no, them knots is gonna hold because of the family. And when she started walking, Atticus was like, freedmen's were never slaves. He's like, she crossed her, ain't she?
I didn't. Okay,
So,
okay, okay. I
but
forgot about that part.
I bring that up because when he finishes off by saying, the same dude that he's mentioned walked off the plantation on Juneteenth.
I think I remember something about Juneteenth. Yeah, I was like,
So
oh,
say all that
okay.
just to mention Juneteenth. Like I said, that was like 3 minutes, 2 minutes, maybe 4 minutes of a story, of a fake false story in the story, just to say he was let out on Juneteenth. So
But you
that's
know
like me
what?
doing 10 minutes just to be like, hey, then the slaves were freed on Juneteenth, right? Which literally
But
Donald Trump said he was going to make a holiday. So the white people do know about this thing. So I'm not about to get blown away. Oh, they mentioned Juneteenth. They're conscious.
but
They're woke.
the anarchists, everyone's on different levels. So I will say this: some people, I remember
They're not
now
on
that they
Donald
brought up,
Trump level, is they?
huh?
They're
No,
not on
they.
the white man in the office who knows about Juneteenth that said, I'll make it a trying to
But
pander to
how
black folks,
often?
but
But let's just say this: how often do you hear a television show even bring up Juneteenth? I think this is the first show. Maybe Blackish did it, maybe not. This is the first show to even acknowledge that. You
no, it didn't.
don't,
No, it
no,
ain't.
the first
No.
television
Yeah,
show.
Blackish did it. Blackish did a whole show about it, and
Okay.
there was other shows that talk about June. It was other shows that talk about Juneteenth.
Okay,
There
I
were other
thought it
shows
was
that talk
nice
about
that they
Juneteenth.
brought that up. I thought it was nice because we hear about so many other things, so many other holidays, and so many other landmarks in history. And I think it's never too much to bring up, like to acknowledge ours, you
Never
know.
too much, never too much, never too much, never too much.
But yeah, so I think it was
Do shout out to
great.
Luther.
I think it was great. We gotta focus again. We gotta focus.
Yeah,
But
we
this
do, we
is
do.
fun. This is fun. So thank you so much for bringing that up, the anarchist. And this made me think now that Bahir is talking about he spoke up about the blood is a spiritual currency, and we're talking about them going down into the cave. We have two initiations of blood in this episode, and I'm just reminded of the other one. So it's happening when so the water they're in the cave, the water is rising, they end up finding the vault, and they have to give blood sacrifice. This is the second initiation to blood. Atticus has to stick his arm into that thing, and somebody else stuck their arm in and got bitten off because they didn't have the right bloodline. And that made me think of the Mummy, because I'm a big fan of like the Brandon Fraser franchise mummies, like the ones that he was in. And in Scorpion King, they had to stick their arm in, and somebody got his arm eaten off. So it was the wrong, like I guess
Mhm.
bloodline or whatever. And so I thought that was kind of interesting because that's what happened in the Mummy. And I'm a big Mummy fan, Mummy 1 and Mummy 2. And so we see that there's a corpse's arm didn't go through, like it didn't their arm is gone, and so Atticus's blood was the blood that was needed. So we see spiritual like like blood being a spiritual currency twice, or at least like the initiation of blood being taken twice in this scene, in this episode. um so we see that happening, and then we see Montrose. He confesses that he had burned the order of the the Sons of Adam's book, and that he will do anything basically to protect Atticus from further searching for information about his bloodline. Like they're getting into arguments in this cave as the water levels are rising. So the water levels are rising. They're in this cave. They're doing all these different things to unlock the vault or whatever. And then that's when we start to get more of, like I said, the Mummy vibes. We're getting the Pirates of the Caribbean. I love that franchise as well. These are franchises, these are storylines, these are themes, vibes that I love, that I know a lot of audiences can relate to. We just didn't necessarily expect to see this in this television show. But I'm like, wait, this seems like very much they're combining a lot of different like worlds, like energies or vibes in here. So we see this happen. We also see them pass an elevator that connects to Letty's house. How is it connected? So this is a magical elevator?
Well,
Like,
remember the dude Hiram Epstein, because
uh-huh.
she had said that she seen a body that she knew she found that she seen in one of her basements.
Yeah.
So all that her house, the dude Hiram Epstein, who was one of the sons of Adam, is connected to that lodge, and so whatever they were doing down there, he was connected as well. So I think that's why the elevator led back to her house.
Yeah, but it must be magical because they're in Boston. Boston
Right.
doesn't go,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can't be driving through like the earth, like, to get to, you know
Right.
what I
Yeah, no,
mean?
no.
So,
Yeah, definitely is some type of magic, but yeah.
yeah.
But then again, they are, keep in mind that when they enter this thing, they are at the center of the earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Peace, Sunkiss. Oh, that's Sunkiss. Sunkiss be on my page. She over here on Almedia's page. That's what's up. Because I told everybody to follow you, and we doing this Lovecraft review. So that's what's up. Peace, Sunkiss. Very knowledgeable
Sun
person.
kiss, everyone. Uh, we're
So,
connected to both of our lives, the
oh, okay.
anarchists.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, peace, sun kiss, and everyone from the Anarkist Channel. Thanks for tuning in.
So, but all right, what was I
Um,
saying? What was I saying?
you were talking about you were
If you
talking
forgot, it's
about
okay.
yeah, the connection, the spell or whatever, and the connection between
Oh yeah.
Boston.
I was just
I don't know
saying.
if
No, I was saying that they were in Boston, but they literally went to the center of the earth. That's why you have to look at those cues. They weren't just in
mhm.
some cave in Boston. They literally traveled to the center of the earth. So I'm not surprised that they came out on the other side, or somewhere that was closer to where she was. Maybe not necessarily magic, but they were traveling for a little while down the center of the earth. So that movie,
Mhm.
Brendan Fraser, they showed you that, or maybe in the book, they can tell you that, you can go in there and come out on literally on the other side, and it won't take as long. So, not necessarily magic, but clearly the connection between Hiram Epstein and the Sons of Anarchy clearly is what that has to do with that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting and crazy. And I was just like, what? How are they like connected to her basement? But, it has to be some type of magic going on. And that just kind of reminded me of like a portal type of thing. Like I was just starting to think of like the idea of portals in TV shows. And like I said, when they're in the basement, in the cave, and they're experiencing all of this, it really made me think of like the Chamber of Secrets from Harry Potter, which is another franchise I love. And so they're in the basement. I mean, they're in the cave, and they discover the elevator that's connected to Letty's house. They discover the den, and in the den there is a like a He-Man woman who is guarding and protecting a scroll that happens. I guess it's Titus's pages or
I'm
something.
sorry to stop you, but real random. Remember the He-Man Woman Haters Club from the Little Rascals?
No, I'm not trying to be offensive in any type of way. I just don't know how to describe what I saw. And
I don't
what
know.
did you?
I did.
What she described what she was, or
Mhm. Yeah.
it
She said
was
whatever she was, but obviously she was some sort of androgynous being. She said, yeah,
androgynous. That's the
yeah.
term. Androgynous being, and she's protecting the papers, and also she's speaking in another language. I don't know if it's the Son of Adam's language. They do say what the language is, but only Atticus can understand her. Um, but she's talking about like how she was like enslaved, and her people were enslaved and forced to basically, I guess, like serve the little like shipwreck or whatever that they're in. And I thought that was very interesting. I'm like, okay, we're dealing with like resurrected people or whatever, and it was a corpse. She was a corpse at first, and she kind of like resurrected to be a woman. How do you feel about that whole scene? I was confused as to why she needed to be androgynous, an androgyn, a man woman, and I was confused as to why we needed to see those private parts. Why do we need to see that? You know, like what? I'm curious because I did some research and I don't think that wasn't in the book.
I don't
So
think so either.
yeah, what
Well, you know, to
what
be
do you think
honest,
about that?
man, I think I was a little off put by that too, because I understand nudity. This is HBO, so I think HBO kind of contracts you to have like sex scenes. We need at least 3 sex scenes in ATV, because I'm like,
And they
wasn't this
have been
the
having
episode?
some. They have been
Yeah,
having
wasn't
some because
wasn't this the episode where Atticus and what's the name went at it again, had some sex again,
I think
after the
so. I
library?
think
Or
so. I
I'm
think
gonna be
so.
honest, man. I'm gonna be honest. This is my take on that. Some of these sex scenes, I do understand that this is HBO, so it's just like this is basically like movie porn, basically. But my thing is, they getting a little. Aside from the very first one on the first episode, they're getting kind of distasteful. A lot of these sex scenes, because even the scene where Atticus is having sex with Leticia, at first, they just kind of dropping clothes and kissing passingly or whatever. And I ain't gonna lie, Leticia, Journey Smollett got it going on. She got it going on. Matter of fact, I can go in all day on the beauties and the artistic values of her body. But I'm gonna say, so I appreciated that part, because that was very eye opening. That was very, I liked it that.
Eye opening.
Yeah, so
Your
I liked
eyes
it
was
that part.
open.
Yeah, they was like, no, I'm just playing. But yeah, no. So I like the, but after that, they started having this very, very graphic sex scene, and I'm just like, and it was kind of long, and I'm just like, you know, so I'm just like, for me, I just felt, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but I'm just like, do we really need this long ass sex? I understand it's HBO, but I'm just like, all right, that's what they doing. And then after that, when we get to this scene where the lady literally turns from a skeleton into her, form as an androgynous being. You see the backside, so I'm like, all right, there goes some ass. And then you see the front side, I'm like, oh, they got me, son. All I'm seeing is long hair in a woman, so I'm just like, you got a little ass on, ain't really had that much ass. I'm like, all right, I see the ass. Then you see the front, and I'm like, oh, hell no. Nah. I got. So to me, it kind of gave me ritual vibes, like, because why do I need, like I said, if it's not in the book, what reason did you put it in the movie? And I could say maybe if it's not sinister, one of the reasons I thought of is that because if you're dealing with Freemasons, remember the Freemasons and the Knights Templars, especially the Knights Templars, which Aleister Crowley, the most famous occultist who ever lived, the Beast 666, Aleister Crowley, was a part of, I believe, the Knights Templar or the OTO, one of those. But they used to worship the Baphometic goat. And for those who don't know, the Baphomet is the goat-headed deity with breasts and is a male. So that's an androgynous being, and that's what the Freemasons and some of these different secret societies do worship that deity, which Christians look at and think it's the devil, but it's not the devil. The deity is called Baphomet. So in my mind, that's kind of what I was thinking towards, especially since it's dealing with these people who are a Masonic group, that maybe she could be representative of that. And because they believe in androgyny, because spiritually that is like, that's a spiritual concept, because your spirit is androgynous. Your spirit is neither male or female. But when you bring it down to this level, it doesn't make sense. That's why a lot of this trans stuff, and which I'm not saying anything bad about trans, I'm just saying when they try to bring you this notion that it's no such thing as woman or man, we're all just one thing, that's some bullshit. So I got to call them out on that. I'm sorry for cussing. That's some BS. Sunkid said it is the duality of the Baphomet. See, you might have just said this before I even mentioned this, Sunkid. So my people be on it. Sunkid said it is the duality of the Baphomet that they put in there. The he, she is big gender confusion and mixture. My people be on it. Y'all need to get on this channel, the Anarkist. You feel me? It's nothing but wise beings in here, like Sunkid. Shout out to Sunkid. You feel me? I like when people be learning. I feel like I just be talking and talking and talking and nobody learning. They just be there for the jokes, which is why I do them. But go ahead. But some kids don't. Some kids be listening.
Yeah, make sure, let's just do a quick commercial as we're breaking this down. Please make sure to subscribe and like the Anarkist channel, and make sure to support his channel. He has a Patreon account, Cash App. All the links will be in below, right? In the comment section below. But also, if you get the chance, go and grab a t-shirt of his. He has the Truth Seeker t-shirts. If you want to learn the truth about what's going on, go ahead and visit his Truth Seeker website and buy a t-shirt, buy a hoodie, buy a coffee mug, or buy a phone case that has Truth Seeker on it. If you're a truth seeker and you want to know the truth about what's going on, he is a scholar in his own right, and you can learn a lot from him about what's going on in the world. Also, visit my channel if you're interested in veganism, motivation, or all things like stories related. And yeah, but make sure you support the Anarchist and subscribe, like, follow him on all the different channels, all the different platforms he's on, which will be in the links below. We're having so much fun here, and it's good to come together and just have conversations that we both enjoy.
I got another song. Come together.
Come together.
Right now. I think that's the Beatles.
Right now. And so, yeah, so back to this. Yeah, thank you for breaking down that whole idea. And like I said, like, I just didn't know what was going on. So I was like, why do we need to see this? But maybe the Baphomet woman or person, the reason why she was man and woman was because in the storyline, because I'm always just trying to figure out why does it make sense in the story. Like, I don't care if she's man and woman, but I just was wondering what was the purpose in the story, because I want to know everything. And so was it because that was a part of her curse being, because remember, she said her people were captured by him, I think by Titus, and forced to basically serve him. So were they forced to not be able to procreate, like to have other kids? And so they made that woman and all of her people, like, both genders, so that she couldn't, like, procreate. I don't know. I was just wondering what was the intention behind there. Sunkiss gave thumbs up real quick. Muck the General said, salute to Sunkiss. Cali Girl G says, if people knew the true history of why Hollywood was created, they would have a different perspective. Interesting.
Yes.
Thank you for that comment,
yes.
Callie G.
Because they
Callie
hide
Girl
that
G.
to this day. They really hide that to this day. I don't know why those people, you know what I'm saying, those religious folks with the small hats on their head like to hide which we know why. Is because they're so powerful. They don't like to show you the power that they have. But if black people literally owned an entire Hollywood, an entire place that makes money, we'd be proud of that and we'd be saying that. But we probably wouldn't be doing nothing sinister to try to, hide it. So yeah, man, they, people don't know what's really going on in Hollywood because they don't even know the history. But please go check out that documentary. It's on YouTube. It's called How the Jew Built Hollywood. How the Jews Created Hollywood, and it's a good book too.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a movie. I know about the book. I've heard of the book. I haven't got a chance to.
It's a really good documentary that documents it from beginning to the end to what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm. And we can learn. We can learn from all cultures and all civilizations. And I definitely want to read that. I want to read How the Jews Built Hollywood, because that's a blueprint to build any industry, from what I've heard. Muck the General says Oscar
Michaud. It's proof positive we don't need Hollywood to make films. These people is on it. Oscar Michaud is actually one of the first black filmmakers of all time. See, why ain't this in
really?
Lovecraft? Yes. Every filmmaker should know who Oscar Michaud is. In fact,
you probably told me about Oscar. You probably told me about him. I had to have learned about him.
He was a very excellent filmmaker, made a lot of movies, didn't really have a big budget. And at the time, I believe it's like early 1900s or maybe even before that. But when he was making films, he was saying, because Hollywood was kind of being solidified, he was saying, hey, this black Hollywood has to be a thing, and the movies aren't as good as the white movies. But black people, please patronize our movies. Please watch it, because it's only going to get better. It can only get better if we keep on watching, no matter if, so basically think about it like this. Tyler Perry is making trash films, according to me, but let's say he was making it and he was the first person to do it. We will all still support him, because it's just like, he's not doing it just because he's a trash filmmaker. He's doing it because we don't have the budget like Hollywood does. But if y'all just keep supporting us, at some point it has to grow to that point. So that's what Oscar Michaud's thing was. And he would always, he was a very innovative dude. He wrote books and he made movies out of his books. He moved to different lands. I can't remember where, but he would tell black people they need to migrate somewhere, I believe, to the Northwest, because he's like, there's so much land out here. But Oscar Michaud is rumored that the Oscar award is actually named after Oscar Michaud, the filmmaker.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now it makes sense. Yeah, okay, because I'm like, I know I've heard his name before in conversations. It's just, That's what's up
So
though.
yeah.
And I love that we're all learning together and having these conversations together
That's
about
what
the
that's what I
history.
was saying. When I was in college, I wrote a book. I'm sorry, I keep coming you off Almedia, but this is my
It's
forte.
fine.
When I was
Uh-huh.
in college, I wrote a book called I can't even remember, or not a book, but I wrote a thesis, a paper, a manifesto actually of how we can make Black Hollywood. And I basically was talking
Mm,
about how we can, based on the internet, we can get people who are into filmmakers, people who are like us, who are just basically like a GoFundMe. I don't even know if GoFundMe was at the time. But I was like, we need to just get a whole bunch of people to finance these films, get the best filmmakers to make it, and then release on the internet or do it like that, and create an industry around Black films and create our own Black Hollywood. I actually wrote the book about that, which basically made me pass the class because my Black filmmaker teacher was like, "This is actually beautiful. Like, I hope somebody takes this and does it." So, but anyway, yeah, look at Oscar Michaud. Thank you so much for that.
mm-hmm. All right. So that's a long, like not long, but a good explanation as to us just trying to both figure out as is the audience, what was the intention behind bringing the woman, the native. I think she was native. She looked native. They had her native tribal, you know,
Yeah, she looked
face
like she could either be
paint.
like a Native American here or like a maybe of Hawaiian descent, but she didn't look like she was
Yeah.
like you know.
Yeah. And so we're learning together, and maybe we'll learn more things, as the story progresses. And so basically they escape the cave and they bring the woman with them. And at the end of the episode, we see that Montrose kills her to protect the secrets of
Hmm.
the secrets of the pages, and and to stop Atticus from going down this journey. So he kills her, and I was totally shocked, because they were talking about teaching her how to speak English and stuff like that, and that didn't happen. So that's where the episode concludes, and Montrose has no type of like subtleness. He's like, look, you stand in my way, like, not really standing in his way, but you're trying to like, he'll do anything to stop his son from going down this path. I wonder
Hmm.
why. Why? Like, I wonder
Well,
if,
what's
go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I wonder, and remember that thought, because, we can forget our thoughts like sometimes. um, I wonder if Uncle George wanted him to do this, because he's making it seem like he's doing it for Uncle George, but did Uncle George want you to kill this woman and do all this other stuff? Maybe you misconstrued Uncle George's message. Maybe some of this PTSD and alcoholism is affecting your judgment right now. Because he was ruthless with cutting her neck. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I forgot. No, just no. I was yeah. I don't. What was I gonna say? I think it was dealing with Montrose because what
Yeah,
you
because
brought up.
we were talking about Montrose and like him killing her, and do you think Uncle George wanted him to do that, and why do
Oh
you
yeah,
think
I
he
think I
would?
was going to comment on that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he definitely because Uncle George didn't say nothing about, obviously Atticus and Leticia, they talk about how if Uncle George was here, they would have his knowledge. They kind of speak about him like he would be helping. That's definitely not what Montrose is doing. I also wanted to add, and this is what I wanted to say. When they were talking, I don't know if you have to forgive me. I don't know if it was this or five, but we're going to be talking about five next. But which episode was it that Leticia uh, uh, confronted Atticus and was like, "What if we're not supposed to be doing?" Oh, I think was it that episode? No, it was the next one because they talked about how Montrose killed the androgynous person.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we'll get into that on the next one. But so what we getting into right now?
So right now we're just wrapping up this episode, and then we'll be doing a review of episode 5. So stay tuned for that, but that'll be in a different live. But stay tuned if you want to hang out around for that. So we're just gonna do a couple of closing questions for this episode, the Anarchist.
All
Again, thank
right.
you all for tuning in today, and a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, My Personal Detail. If you're in the Chicago area and you're interested in getting your car detailed, cleaned inside or out, or cleaned inside and out, or if you need different things done to your car, visit mpdetail.com. That's mpdetail.com. Also visit them on Instagram at mypersonaldetail.com. They're a mobile car wash, which is the future, and they come to you wherever you're at and detail your car, restore your car. They're recondition specialists. They recondition your car and bring them back to life. If you need a ceramic coating done, an engine cleaning done, a standard wash, a full detail, visit my personal detail on Instagram or mpdetail.com. Callie says, look up Aleister Crowley, founder of the New Age of religion. Magic and yoga are the two pillars they use to promote Satanism. Wow.
Yeah, and I was just
Wow.
talking about Aleister Crowley. I mentioned him as Aleister Crowley is the most famous occultist of all time. All the occultists, all the people in the Freemasonry, he's written books. I think his book is the Book of the Law, which have a lot of occult concepts.
Yeah. And side note, and you can keep talking, but just side note real quick, trying to like stay on topic, but they used Aleister Crowley in a TV show I used to love, Supernatural. They made him like the king of hell after a while, and so that's when you start learning a little bit about it. But it's not the same Aleister Crowley, but they used his name and try to like mix him in.
It's the same one.
Yeah, but the storyline kind of skewed after a while. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of
that was obviously fiction, but they did use him.
Yeah, I was like, that's where I first learned about or Aleister Crowley, and then after that, I realized it was based on someone else, and so yeah. But back to what you were saying.
What was I saying?
You were just like basically agreeing with Callie about Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, I was just that's it. Because Callie Girl G just bringing up the fact that a lot of these occultists, just telling people to look up Aleister Crowley, which they should, because
And what I want to say is,
No, just to learn what's going on, the stuff that we talking about.
And I think it's important that they're dropping it's so much going on in this TV show to where I feel like they did a great job with research, because it's a lot of stuff going on that it can go over people's head unless you have the knowledge, unless you are a truth seeker. Buy your truth seeker shirt from the Anarkist. A lot of things can go over your head. So we're just talking about things that we pick up in the show, and it could be hit or miss, it could be too deep, but we're just really diving into the world of Lovecraft Country, the TV show. Thank you for being with us on this journey as we continue along this journey, and I just have a few questions to ask. So for this episode, The Anarchist, who is your favorite character for this episode?
In this episode, who was my favorite character? I would have to say, let me see, who is my favorite character of the episode? It have to be between Hippolyta and Atticus in this episode, because I like how Hippolyta, she doesn't have she's not too much in this episode. She's only in it, as far as how much she's in it. But I like how she's just taking the initiative, because
I think don't they ditch her or something like that?
Not that they
ditched her because they went on the journey, so they ended up catching the elevator back to Chicago. So they're still in Boston.
Her whole thing was when Montrose, Atticus, and Leticia said they were going to Boston. She was like, I'm coming too, because last time y'all mugs left, somebody didn't come back. So she's like, I'm coming too, Diana's coming too, and this man is coming too. We all a family. Let's get in this car. Let's go. Let's go. But anyway, so I like how she just kind of took that initiative, look, y'all not telling me stuff, so I got to figure this out myself. I remember Jay-Z wearing, I was just about to mention that, the Jay-Z wearing the Do As Thou Wilt shirt, which is one of the Aleister Crowley sayings, Muck still on it. But back to my point. I like Hippolyta's character because she inserted herself. She's like, I want to see what's going on. I want to do this. I want to do that. I like, even in the beginning when we talk about, we get to more her character about, how she feels about astronomy and all that stuff. So I did like her character. If not her, then Atticus, of course, he's the main character. But just out of it's never going to be Montrose, to be honest with you. I don't like that dude at all. But Atticus and Leticia, they were all right in this, but I just felt like someone else kind of bringing a new perspective, because I'm just getting kind of tired of them. I'm getting a little tired of them.
Who?
I'm getting tired. As far as some of the characters, I'm really not liking Montrose's character. I understand, he's obviously,
I would like to add a note to that I feel like in every story there's going to be characters that we don't like, and that doesn't make him necessarily the antagonist, because we have other people that are coming kind of like the antagonist in every story. But right now he's not my favorite character either, but we have that in stories. It's characters for some reason, and they're human too. They have a human experience with flaws, so we love them for all their flaws, I guess, but he's just not the favorite character. And it's like that in every story, where it's people where you just know, you're like, yeah, I don't like that person. But there's a reason why they're in the story. Everybody is supposed to be driving the story forward. We don't really know how yet, but you know, he's in the story. My favorite character this episode is Hippolytus too. Um, you know, I used to love, like growing up, the idea of like learning astronomy and the stars. I used to always look up at the sky at recess in elementary school. And when we would get home, I would just sit in the grass and look up like at the clouds and stuff. And I've always loved the idea of looking up. And I like that she's an astronomer, and she, you know, she has this spirit of like, I can explore, you know, and I really like that. And I'm not a mother, uh, technically or nothing, but the idea of her just like being this woman who's a mother and also helping out with her husband's bookstore and having this daughter who's like into comic books and stuff, and just she put herself, she was okay with like, I feel like in this episode she said she wasn't trying to make a big deal about her being an astronomer and naming a comet. She was like, look, sweetie, I know and you know. And she didn't even tell her daughter before now. So this idea of her just being this humble person, I think is so beautiful. And she only had one scene or a couple of scenes, but I like that she did something big. She named a whole comet. And she's but people don't know her for that. People know her for being a mother and a wife. And I think that the beauty of her just having so much within her, or I don't know, I just like how she's just like this subtle, brilliant person. I like it. And I know I went on too much about it, but I really like Hippolytus. I think the actress Anjanou Ellis is doing a great job with this role, and I really admire it. What were you most surprised about in this week's episode?
What was I most surprised about? What was I most surprised about? Let's see. I ain't gonna lie. I'm just surprised that you know, I'm not as intrigued by the show as I was in the first two episodes, because like I said, I don't think it's a badly done show at all. And I do want to give, I want to, you know, I make a lot of jokes here. Come on, y'all, you know we joke. Y'all know we joke. I on my podcast and on my channel, I try to really make sure I joke on everybody. Whites, blacks, Asians, gays. I'm like, let me make sure I get everybody. So if I'm a hater, I hate everything, buddy. But I don't want to like make it seem like I'm discouraging Misha Green, because she is a brilliant writer, I will say. And you know, I like the director of some of the shows, but like I said, my gripe is I just want the best, especially when it comes to black content. I want the best. And I have to be honest. I'm not about to come on here, oh, that was cool. This is literally how I feel. So y'all know when I get to making films, that junk about to be the real deal, because I want y'all critiquing me like I'm critiquing these people. That's how we make people better. Steel sharpens steel. So that's what I'm saying. I'm a little
iron.
Exactly. So that's why I'm just like, the white folks done gave you this budget. They gave you the bag to blow. And you know what I'm saying? And I understand when that happens, people just, they don't focus so much on the story, but do that. That's really only going to keep people there. All these other TV shows got the same, but you know what I'm saying? The same just fireworks and all this other stuff. Make it about the story. You really just going all over the place. And just, like I said, I think what people gripe is on this story is they really do go all over the place. And I see how it's done, because once you start looking at little cues in the story, okay, the center of the journey of the earth, history of violence, that movie, these concepts, these old historic concepts, they're not doing too much, but it really, I think what people aren't saying is just the lackluster of the writing. It's just a little bit lackluster.
I don't know if it's the writing. I don't know. Is it the writing or is it the execution? Like, you know, because
the acting is great, and the scenes and sets are great. The costumes great. The effects great.
And you know what I would like, and you know what I think? I think that it would be great if like you know, and me and the anarchists, we were talking about this like off camera. We were just talking about like, you know, talking about like our experience a little bit. And I was thinking like with this show, it would have been somebody said, we know you be clowning anarchists. Sanka said that. So it would have been great if like the first season would have been about them traveling, you know, throughout the country, gathering stuff up, experiencing racism, and racism thing exists throughout the whole like TV show. But the second season could have been, oh, we're dabbling in metaphysics and what's that? Metaphysics and witchcraft. And then the third season could be about horror, and the fourth season could be about like they're talking about this time machine thing or whatever, like that type of stuff. The fifth season could have been about Journey to the Center of the Earth. I don't know. Like, I'm just throwing
Nope.
out
They
like
like, look, we
ideas
got the bag. Put it all in here. We got the
because with
bag.
a lot of other shows, like I know, but a lot of other shows, like I know I was watching, I used to watch Supernatural a lot, and they would go different, different seasons. They would have like different themes or whatever, or even like American Horror Story. Like they have different themes each season. A lot of TV shows do that. Like you introduce things slowly. Like I used to be a big fan of like Supernatural. This is totally different, right? This is nothing like, I mean, Smallville. This is a totally different show than Smallville. And I'm trying not to compare apples to oranges because me and the Anarchists, we are really happy that this show is here. We love the representation of Black talent. You know, this is just us giving our critiques in a loving way as artists ourselves. You know, I've seen shows like Smallville. I've seen different type of shows that are completely different, but they introduce different antagonists each season versus each episode, because then the audience can really set in and really understand what's going on, instead of just like throwing us like, you know, soul food and like, you know, Spanish food. Like, I don't know, that's a bad example, but basically it's too much going on, and I'm still here for the journey, as is the Anarchist. But it would have been nice if each season had a theme to it instead of all themes. Like they had ghosts in episode 3. How do we jump from metaphysics and witches and monsters to ghosts
I
to
mean, honestly, if you ask
pirates?
me,
Huh?
technically, a lot of that stuff
Isn't
is.
Lovecraft?
Well, I'm not saying it's a Lovecraft, isn't Lovecraft, but just it all. I ain't gonna lie, it kind of all ties together. When you get into
Okay.
metaphysics literally means beyond the physical.
Mm-hmm.
That's what metaphysical means. So when you talk
Mm-hmm.
about beyond the physical, that's what you're talking about. You're talking about ghosts, you're talking about magic, you're talking about things that you can't see. I don't think they have as much of an understanding of it as maybe some other people.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Because I heard Misha Green in one interview saying that she talked about the huge budget that she has for this show, and she is the showrunner as well as the writer. So she was like, you know, but she was saying that when, as far as this show goes, she was telling her writers' room, let's not just use magic for the sake of magic. And what I took that to mean is they have a huge budget, so they can pretty much do whatever they want. But she didn't want the
Mm.
writers just to put mal. She really wanted to, as she says, have it tie into the story. But I'm like, how good of a job are you really doing that? You know what I'm saying? That's all. That's really my thing.
And to her credit, you know, and I don't know, I've never met her, and I'm not a part of this production team or anything, but to her credit, it's a lot of hands involved in each production. So maybe it's a possibility that it's so much that she tried to make, like, you know, happen for the production, and then it was to the executives to say, well, this is what we want. And you know what I mean? So like it could be a certain point to where things are out of her hands, you know. So this isn't an attack to anyone on the show. We are happy to be here for the experience, but we are, you know, viewers. And don't, oh my gosh, don't do that. We are viewers, and we are on this journey, and we're just giving our perspective. And maybe it was some other hands involved that thought that this would make more sense to have all these different uh uh themes of Lovecraft Country in the whole season. But as a viewer, and I'm not the only one, I've, you know, listened to a lot of people, you know, talk about
Shout out to
their
Pay or Wait. Shout out to Pay or Wait. I like her content. Shout out to
yes,
Pay or
yes,
Wait.
yes. I really, yeah, pay or wait. Um I don't know if Beyond the Trailer is like covering all of the episodes, but I remember when it first came out, she was talking about it, and I really like her. I don't know her name, but Beyond the Trailer. And then outside of like YouTube people, I really like just experiencing it with my boyfriend and with my mentor. I talked about that in some other episodes, and not just them, my sister. People have like, I know people who have like watched some of these episodes, and it's interesting seeing their like reviews of it. So people are just like, well, what's going on? Like literally everyone's been like, what's going on? Like they were lost after monsters, or they were lost after witchcraft, or they were lost after the ghost story. So, you know, um I'm here for it. I'm committed to see this
Shout
all
out to
come to a
Ty. That's
conclusion.
Ty in the room. That's Ty. She
Ty.
said so, kind of like American Horror Story.
So Mimi Renee is also Thai, and yeah, so kind of like American Horror. Yeah, they have all these different themes in here, and so what question did I ask you, or what were you most surprised about? So for me, what I was most surprised about was that whole pirate scene where it was a Scalian dead pirate that turned into a Native American woman that was androgynous. I was like, what? Huh? And then, of course, I was surprised that the elevator led up to like Letty's house. Those are the two things. The androgynous pirate thing, I didn't think any of that was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be no pirate that resurrects when you touch his hand that is then a Native American cursed androgynous person. Like that is, and then that Atticus can speak another language that no one knows about, just like in the Chamber of Secrets when Harry Potter could speak
the snakes, the reptiles.
Yeah, I forget what it's called. Yeah, it's called like I forget what it's called, but
Slytherin, or was that the name of the house?
That was the name of the house, but he could speak like I forget the name of it. It doesn't matter. Like I'm like, what?
Parcel tongue.
I thought it was with a P, parcel tongue or parcel tongue or something like that. And I'm like, so Atticus can speak another language. We have pirates that resurrect into lady women, androgynous, and then we have like an elevator that's in Boston, but also is in Letty's house. Like,
remember, the elevator is not in Boston. They went to the center of the earth.
They went to the center of the earth.
Yeah, so they left Boston. Came up to Chicago.
And then that also leads us to the belief.
All the walking down in the caves is not them just walking through Boston. They basically walking underneath America.
You're right. So
that's why in the very final scene where Hippolyta is driving with her daughter Diana, they like, how the heck did what's the name of them get to Chicago without Woody? You know what I'm saying? And she just like, I don't know. And then just to close it out, Diana brings out the little map that they had. She's like, where'd you get that? She's like, oh, I just found this in the glove. And she sees that instead of going to, I guess, where they were supposed to go, that they went to Devon County, Lovecraft County. And, so she's like, let's turn around. We're not sure where she's going, but she says, let's turn around, and we don't know where she's going.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it may be over to the Devon County place to see what might have happened to her husband.
Yeah, and I've been like, Mama, we ain't going by ourselves, but you don't tell your mama what you doing. She tell you, you sit back there and you be quiet. I'm going to go where I want to go in the spirit of your father. And so that's what I was surprised about. Now, I know that you saw next week's episode, but just erase next week's episode from your mind. When you saw this episode, what was your prediction for next week's episode?
When I saw this episode, my prediction for next week's episode was, and I thought we wasn't doing predictions no more because I don't even like predicting this dang thing.
Okay, we don't have to do it anymore. Yeah, we don't have to do it because it's different. Like, really, I was just gonna say I can't really predict. I have no idea. So
yeah, and it's not like I'm even trying. I'm just like, what they giving me now?
Okay, so we're not gonna do predictions.
It's like a kid that just got in trouble. You just heard some stuff. What you do now? You walk into a room like, what y'all do now?
I didn't do anything. I swear. But no. Was that funny? Okay, anyway.
Yeah,
see, we are so random, me and the anarchists. Like, we are so random, but we try to stay on point, okay? Like, if our mind is going over here, eventually we're gonna get back here, okay? Like, just stay with us. We love breaking down narratives, like, and we're
this is funny because me and Almedia, we have conversations where it's just like, okay, this is a side note to the side note on a side note.
and then we reel it back in. And then we reel it back in. It comes full circle eventually. It may take an hour or two, but it comes full circle. And so we're not making any predictions for the next episode, but I would like to ask you, the anarchist, what is your prediction for the season? It's not the episode of the season. Like,
I mean, without knowing what I know about in the 5th episode, which we gonna get into, like, every last one of y'all better come in here for that when we go live about the 5th episode, because you think I went in on this one, I'm about to go in. And for those who've seen it, you know why. But what's my? I mean, obviously, if I'm following the story, the next one will be very interesting. But obviously, Christina, it seems to be like the villain, sort of. But then she kind of plays this game where she's not the villain. She try to play this game where it's just like, remember in
like
episode,
she's like the person that's trying to save the day, and it's like you're not though. You're using people. Like, people think they're playing chess, and she's playing. People think they're playing checkers, and she's playing chess. I got like 5% battery.
Okay.
Let's do your prediction, and then we'll close out.
Like I said, my prediction is obviously it's going to be dealing. Christina is going to have a lot. I think she's going to be more pronounced as far as her intentions and getting what she wants. She wants this Ori. She wants this time machine. So it's focused around that. Clearly, if she's getting a time machine, then we're going to be dealing with time travel. I don't know what her motivations is. Maybe it's her father, like you said. Maybe it's her mother, who we don't really know a lot about. Maybe it's just her trying to collect power as a woman. Trying to get power over the lodge, or trying to make William have power. That could be a thing, but I could see that. Like I said, they're taking different ideas from different science fiction books, and that I'm not going to even try to figure out which one they're going to do next, because it could be Lovecraft, it could be anybody. So, but as far as the way the story's going, I would like to see Atticus and Leticia be more in a serious relationship or get married or whatever. I would like Hippolytus to kind of get some reconciliation over what happened with her husband, because I'm pretty sure she's going to do that. Yeah, Ty said it's all connected. It's all connected.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for me, I just predict that I don't know, because I really don't know, but I hope that, I think by the end of the season they're gonna figure out what this legacy is. Who knows what that is? And that's all I can predict for the season, is hopefully by the end we just know what's gonna happen, like with the legacy. But I don't know what that's gonna be. I have no idea. You all, this is episode 4 of Lovecraft Country, HBO. You can check it out on HBO Max. I am Almedia Exum. This is the Anarkist. Thank you for tuning into this review, this reaction, this decoding of episode 4, The History of Violence. Stay tuned. We will be going live with episode 5 before next week's episode. You'll be able to hear all of our reviews on all of the episodes so far. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to visit mpdetail.com for my personal details in the business. If you need your car done and you're located in the Chicago area, be sure to go to the Anarkist Channel, support, subscribe, and also grab you a Truth Seekers t-shirt. If you have one, send us a picture and we'll shout you out. And we will be doing more videos and stuff. So thank you for tuning in and being a part of this conversation. Do you want to close us out, the Anarkist?
Yeah, man, I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here. Thanks, Sunkiss. Thanks, Ty. Thanks, I believe your name was Abdul. Thanks, Muck Muck, the General. You feel
and
me?
Everybody
General,
that
salute.
We haven't named, and everyone that we haven't named.
No, everybody else, fuck y'all, straight up. No, if you ain't hearing the live, I'm
cursing.
So sorry.
We can't do that.
I'm just playing. Y'all know who I am. I gotta calm down with this stuff. But yeah, shout out to y'all too. That's for real. That's on the real. Shout out to everybody watching this and everybody who's into knowledge, who's into getting real knowledge, because that's what we trying to do. We're trying to break down this knowledge and whatever.
And I wanted to say also, if you're interested in motivation and just uplifting your life and your energy and your frequency, I do motivational messages. Check out my channel at my Happy Life Day Motivation. And just remember that, no matter what's going on, remember to have a happy life day. You are loved, you are valuable, you are appreciated. And check out me, Almedia Exum, and the Anarkist when we do our next reviews.
All righty.
Peace.